No Riley, no Brody, no Muzzin. Giordano and Hall are the top pair. Sandin, Liljegren, and the third pair, Mete and Ben, I think, or Mete and
Mac,
Hollowell.
isn't it Mac Hollowell or?
Where's Ben then?
Um, no, I think it's Ben and Hollowell. Victor Mete is the odd man out right now.
Extra. Okay, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
he's the extra.
So
But
Hollowell's going in.
it's crazy how fast it changes. And we've been dogging on Justin Hall for forever. I know you have, and I've certainly had my criticisms about him. And all of a sudden, he's in your top pair. And when your team loses their top 3 cap hits on D, this is the result of your blue line. Yeah, it's got to be one of the weakest ones in the league right now. Based off that, it's great to see Liljegren taking. He was inserted right into the lineup and was making an impact right away, and he's played really, really well. But Sandin's going to have to take a bigger role. I know they tried to shelter Gio's minutes early on, but he's going to be really important for them now. So, yeah, the Leafs are going to be on survival mode for 3 to 4 weeks here. Well, like you said, 4 weeks for Riley, 4 to 6 weeks is the estimated timeout right now. So, yeah, not looking good in Leaf land on that blue line, John.
Yeah, so I think it is something we need to discuss. And I ripped through. So Saravelli, like, are they going to make a move here? I mean, Saravelli listed guys. The one trade we can talk about here, and just it looks like Nick Robertson's drawing back into the lineup at some point here. But I think both of us have kind of expressed our displeasure on how the situation's been handled with Robertson. And just so Saravelli a few days ago just dropped, why not do a Ville Heinola for Nick Robertson 1-for-1 swap? I don't even know if that's like the question mark of like trading Robertson or not. I don't even know if they would want to trade Robertson for a younger defenseman when you have Sandin and Liljegren there. So I guess for my question to you, and we'll just go back and forth here, is would you consider a trade like that? Or if the scenario was you are definitely trading Robertson because the coach doesn't like him or something here is not working out, would you do that kind of trade, or would you package Robertson with the other pieces to get, like, I don't know, a Chychrun?
Yeah. I'm really curious on what the trade value is with a guy like Nick Robertson right now. But first of all, I want to answer the Saravelli tweet with Ville Heinola.
Robertson, Heinola.
Heinola. And he's a first round pick, 20th overall. Guy has, a pretty high ceiling when the Jets picked him. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about him. I know he's in the minors right now. He's only played a game this year for Winnipeg. But something off the bat that jumps off is, he's 5'11". So you're getting another smaller guy. But I think if you're going to move Robertson, which I really am hesitant to do right now, just because
I feel like he has so much scoring potential.
Yeah, man. And his value is probably at an all-time low, John. Like, I'm not saying he's worth pennies on the dollar, but like for what he can be, I think you're trading an asset that isn't going to get you much for what he could be. But it's crazy because I've been looking at the Leafs lineup and thinking they needed to add an impact forward for so long, and now with these injuries, it's like they got to address the blue line. But I think if you're going to package Robertson, I would pick the latter, and I would say you would be putting him in a bigger trade for a bigger fish, as opposed to an unproven young guy just swapping for the sake of swapping. Because at the end of the day, if these two guys were traded for each other, it might be a fair trade. One team might rip off the other one in the long haul. Like, we don't know what these two guys are, so it's kind of tough to say.
And I mean, Robertson would have a fit with the Jets, and Heinola would go right into the Leafs lineup with the injuries. So in terms of both guys getting the opportunity, they would get the opportunity on both teams, 100%. I don't think that's the question here. I think the question for me is like specific need long-term for the Leafs. So ignore this injury question marks. It's like Heinola, to me, different, but drawing a lot of similarities to a Rasmus Sandin. And I just think, are we really trying to do like ×2 of an experiment here? Like, I think the Leafs are still waiting to see what they get out of Rasmus Sandin long term. Like, I know Sandin will be an NHL defenseman. What kind of NHL defenseman? Same thing with Liljegren. I actually think it's been clear as day. Liljegren came back, had a couple giveaways, but like Liljegren's looked better than Sandin in my eyes.
Absolutely.
More confident, been involved in more goals, been involved in more plays. I just think he's looked more mature overall. I think Sandin at times, but Sandin's also made a lot of brutal mistakes combined with the lack of confidence, combined with the lack of impact. But now, I mean, Lucas, if we're talking about it, sure, Giordano and Hall will probably get the matchups, the tougher matchups, but Sandin's getting that number one power play unit now with Riley out. And of course, I'm I'm super down bad about it. But if there's one guy that needs to step up right now, it's Rasmus Sandin.
Yeah, and Rasmus Sandin has always been, you know, looked at as a guy who wasn't given that opportunity with so many left-handed defensemen on the Leafs. And he's been begging for it to show. So this is it. This is your opportunity.
Yeah.
I think the next 6 weeks, if Riley's out that long, are really going to be telling on, you know, people are going to be judging Rasmus Sandin, both internally with the Leafs and as Leafs Nation is going to be judging him to see really what he is. I've been hard on him since the season started. I've just thought that like, he's just been really rough in his own end. And I know he doesn't get that offensive opportunity, but I think defensively he's suspect a lot at times. So this is really that chance for him. And I think bringing in, you know, tying the whole conversation together, bringing in this Ville, remind me of his name now, Heinola, bringing him in, I think is another blockage for Sandin, and that also sends the wrong message to Sandin, right?
Yeah. No, I know. And I think for the Leafs, that's why I'm saying, like, if they're going to make a risky move like that to trade Robertson, yeah, it probably should be a guy more solidified. I understand the change of scenery, and I understand where Saravelli's coming from with that proposal. I will say, I do think Chychrun's overhyped in a lot of aspects. I've always said that. But again, you're talking about a guy that's like the cap hit's just over $4 million. It's a guy that, while he doesn't bring that big time physical defensive game, it's like a bigger defenseman, still young. Like, I don't think people remember sometimes it's like this guy's Liljegren's age. Like, he was from the 2017 draft. So there's still a lot of potential, I think, even with Chychrun. And I think we're still going to see better days from him. So of course I'd be down for Chychrun. Like, if Robertson was part of that, I would be a little bit upset, but if it was getting a guy like Chychrun and your boy Kerfoot's out the door, obviously I'm joking and saying that, but yeah, I mean, the cap hits are basically matching there. Like Kerfoot, like 750 less. So send Kerfoot one way. You have the LTIR space right now. Combine it with Robertson in the first. I think I'd be doing that trade at least, like Robertson first, other prospect maybe. I don't know if Arizona's saying yes to that, but right now the rumored proposal right now is a first and 2 decent level prospects at the very minimum. So I don't know.
And I think that's a large gamble right now too. I just feel like as time has surpassed here, like I'm still pretty high on Chychrun, but I think that with how much time has passed and how many games he's missed, it's a little bit of magic beans right now, especially for this year. Like bringing him in this year, I don't think you can have these lofty expectations for him wherever he goes, because he's going to have to get accustomed to playing, period. Then get accustomed to playing for a new team, new system, new coach, all of that. So when it comes to Chychrun, I think the expectations should be tampered a little bit. But I still think he would be an unbelievable add for a team like the Leafs who need defensive help. And he would really, if he came in, he would take, I guess, if the Leafs were all healthy, Muzzin's minutes right away. But I just want to add that little caveat that he is a bit of, magic beans right now in terms of we don't know exactly what he's going to bring, especially this season.
Yeah. And I think for the Leafs right now, the last few years and all the first round exits, like, sure, it's a chance to bring in maybe guys that want an opportunity, but I think the Leafs are past that point. Like the Leafs are past experimenting. I want the for sure things. And that's why I actually, in the stream, I suggested a guy like a Matthias Ekholm. I know there's been a lot of guys that have been thrown out, like Freeman on Sportsnet threw out Dumba. Saravelli's talked about Dumba. And I know other guys have talked about a Nick Jensen or an Orlov or an Artem Zub. And I hear all these names. I want a guy like, I want the Muzzin when the Leafs acquired him, to be honest. And it's just, it sucks because Muzzin's never been healthy with his team. And when he was healthy, Muzzin, I'm trying to think of what playoff it was, but Muzzin, when healthy in certain times in the playoffs, looked like the best Leafs defenseman.
I think it was 19. I want to say it was 19, John, versus Boston.
Yeah, it was, yeah. It might have been 19 or 20. Either way, Muzzin, when he was healthy, looked good. And I'm trying to think, 20, did Dubois hurt him, right?
Yeah, that would have been in 20. But yeah, the tough thing with looking at defensemen too, when you're trying to create these fantasy proposals and stuff, is there's a lot of good defensemen out there, especially right-handed ones, that would be really valuable to the Leafs. But at the end of the day, are these teams going to want to move these guys? And often that happens later on in the season when they're falling out of the race. Ottawa is in a huge hole right now, so maybe a guy like Zub becomes disposable for them. But, you know, for the longest time, the Leafs were rumored for like a guy like DeMello, right?
Yeah.
And with Winnipeg succeeding like they are, I can't see them moving him. Or what about Scott Mayfield? I'm a big Scott Mayfield guy. I don't know if the Islanders are going to want to move him with how they've started, right? So it's like you only have so many teams to really choose from, and it really limits the pool. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. But I think when the Leafs are healthy, I think their blue line is okay. I really think I'm not like super confident with it, but I think it's fine.
Is that statement with or without Muzzin? Because we don't know if Muzzin will ever come back.
Yeah, with Muzzin, I think it's good if he was healthy. I think.
But without Muzzin, you still love the addition with Brody Riley healthy.
Without Muzzin, I think it's fine. My concern now becomes you can't address all of these things people want: a defenseman, a third line center, a scoring winger. You can't do all this. So if you're going to prioritize them, I almost have the scoring winger or a guy who can play center and wing legit, not Kerfoot or Yarncroc. I almost have that prioritized over D because I just think they're getting nothing out of that bottom six, like for scoring at least. And Kerfoot has 1 goal. Like it's inexcusable.